Welcome to Faith Talks Wood Podcast. I'm Will from Flat Woodworks.
And I'm Tom from Mountain Valley Maker.
And we're a podcast about faith, woodworking, and all kinds of stuff. And we'll talk about a little bit of everything on the podcast. So, Tom, for Christmas, one of the things I received was a gift card. And the gift card is to a place called the Boot Box. So the Boot Box, if you're in northwestern Pennsylvania, or even somewhere around the area, is in Meadville, Pennsylvania. That's where I'm from. And I always say Erie. It's just the closest kind of big town. And so the Boot Box is a locally owned clothing outfit, but they're known for their boot selection. And for anything from Western, cowboy boots to hunting boots to work boots. I mean, they've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of boots. And then they've got a whole section. They sell they're a Carhartt dealer and stuff like that. And all that kind of stuff. And so I'd gotten this gift card for some money from there. And so Saturday morning, my son and I went over there and walked around and was like, see if there's anything, worthy of getting. And my wife's big on if I get a gift card, I have to spend it on myself because I was going to buy her something because there's nothing I really found that I needed. Well, I come across Carhartt. They had a deal on insulated jeans. And I thought, it gets cold here. I've got overall bibs, but I figured I'll get a pair of insulated jeans. So I found my size and went up to pay for it. And I had forgotten the gift card at home. And so I'm like, wow, shoot. And so we went back later, got the jeans, and I should have tried them on there, but I didn't. Part of the reason I don't like trying stuff on at stores is because I'm usually concealed carrying. It's just a pain in the butt to unholster in a waiting, dressing room and all that stuff. And so anyways, took them home. And later that night I tried them on, and let me tell you what, Carhartt must think everybody is skinny. Cause I have 3 or 4 different brand of jeans, all in the same size, and they all fit me great. Every one of them, no problems at all. These Carhartt, it was like it was made 4 sizes smaller. I couldn't believe it. And so anyways, long story short, today after church, had to run in, I had to go to the Evil Orange store to get some stuff, and then went back there and returned those, and they didn't have any other sizes. And so I'm walking around trying to figure out what I'm going to get. And I come across Ariat, which I have Ariat boots. They have coats, and they had these coats on sale, and they're really nice kind of winter coats, but not too fluffy. But the thing that really intrigued me by them is they have a concealed carry pocket in them. And so there's a zipper that zips down in between the main zipper and the lining. And there's a pocket, and then it has a thing in there to clip a holster to. And it was just kind of a really cool thing. And so I saw that and I was like, yeah, I'm getting me that. And so that was what I used my gift card on. But I couldn't believe I went all the way in there and forgot my gift card. And then the jeans, man, it's just a mess. I hate shopping and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, how's your week going? How's everything? Although we just recorded last week's episode a few days ago, so probably not much has changed.
Yeah, I pretty much kind of the same. We recorded 2 days ago. Got all my. I'm not sure if you saw the reel posted. Had to get my wife and daughter help me lift my dust collection up. But
Yep.
Man, dude, I'm so excited about not having to roll my dust collector all over the shop from tool to tool. So I'm going to start building I haven't built anything yet, so I haven't really reaped the benefits of it yet. But I'm just so excited about not having to do that. And so I'm going to start work on my next project tomorrow. And just the fact that now I don't have to, every time I want to switch from the planer to the joiner to the table saw, back to the bandsaw, or whatever the case might be, it was just a pain in the butt. I hate to say it that way, but that's what it was every time I wanted to change from one tool to the next. And
No, I saw how you have it set up along that one wall. So is your table saw, you're still going to use your Rockler hose hook to your table saw in the middle?
So essentially what I did is I just ran the hard pipe down the wall and put a bunch of different ports, and I kind of strategically located those ports, and I'm going to have 3 different of the Rockler flex hoses. And the CNC is hard piped in all the way over to it. The only reason I'm going to eventually probably go back and figure out a way to hard pipe over, and I may end up changing some stuff around again. That's why I didn't glue any of the pipe. I just used the HVAC, that aluminum 3M tape to tape all the seams. And so anyway, but I've got one of the flex hoses that will be switched back and forth between my joiner and my planer. Or if I needed, something else, another one that's going to be switched back and forth between like my spindle sander and a couple of those little portable tools. And then I have a flex one that is going to stay permanently attached to the table saw unless I need to roll something through there. So I'm just going to leave it, because 90% of the time that's how I had it before anyway. If most of the time I just have my dust collector on the wall, the hose ran, because I don't really walk behind that area very much. But my router table, my bandsaw are all permanently. I say permanently. It's a flex from the PVC over to them. But all I'll do is go over, pull the blast gate, use that tool, shut it back, boom. So. Yeah,
That's nice. I couldn't believe that you posted that story of the PVC cap compared to the Y fitting.
Yeah. So the only reason I was looking at one of those caps, I was expecting it to be $5 or something, and so I need one more blast gate and one more fitting from Rockler. So I ordered those, but that, I won't get them to the middle of next week. And I was like, so I have this open port, and I was like, I'll just spend the $5. But that thing was $15. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So I'm going to take a piece of wood and just tape over that opening until those fittings, that blast gate and all get in. But yeah, man, it didn't make any sense. I was like, it's twice as much material for them to make an elbow, and yet that little cap was $3 more. But I mean, all of it is just, it's so expensive. The sticks of PVC were like around $25. I don't remember the exact price for a 10-foot stick of 4-inch. And then each of those 90s, those 45s were $12.45 a piece. And so, yeah, man, I spent a couple $100, but you know what? The way I look at it is the time savings now. Plus, I had the fittings from Rock. I say it cost me about $300 in all to do what I did. But when you look at the value of your time, and if I'm able to be more productive, I quickly regain that. So and it makes my life easier, which brings me joy. But yeah, it was sticker shock when I went to buy that PVC. I ain't gonna lie. I was like, man, but anyway.
Yeah, that's crazy. I actually went to the orange store today, and it's in the spring. I'm gonna end up getting a couple tons, 3 or 4 tons of gravel to put around the driveway and stuff. There's so much mud, but there's a spot. So we come in the garage door through the shop is our main entrance into the house, because the way our house is built, where the people that originally built it didn't build a sidewalk up to the front porch. So there's just grass. And so we go through the garage. Well, because of where it's at, it's gotten really muddy from us walking into there so much. There's like a cement stoop, and then it goes into the garage. And so I just wanted a couple bags of gravel just to throw down there, so I'm not tracking mud all the time. And I did the same thing like 3 years ago. It's like $3 a bag for like 50-pound bags of gravel. So I was like, I'll get me a few bags of gravel and I'll put them down there. It was $6 a bag for just plain all-purpose gravel. And I was a little irritated by that. I was like, that's insane. But
now, do you guys not have a quarry anywhere near you?
There are places where I could get like a full truckload or get stuff like that. But from what I've found, they only do large loads, and I don't want to do that yet.
Oh man,
because the winter's coming and stuff like that. So
what about like a landscape supply place? A lot of times, landscaper supply places will buy it in bulk from the quarry, and then they'll in turn, rather than selling a dump truck load, they'll mark it up a little and sell, a wheelbarrow or two or whatever you want in the back of your truck, but it's still way cheaper than buying it by the bag. Get a lot more for your money.
Yeah. What I'm going to end up doing is this spring, I'm going to go to there's a couple places that will deliver. Now I have a truck and I could put it in the back of my truck, but I want more than that. And I don't want to make multiple loads. So I may get a whole load and have it put out. Cause our driveway it's a horseshoe driveway and it's blacktop, but for whatever reason, it's super narrow. Like my truck, and I don't have any wide wheels. It's just a F-150. Both tires are off the edge of the driveway. That's how narrow it is. The guy must have been driving a Yugo or something.
Yeah, you just need to call a trucking company, a dump truck. Like I just had a 12-yard load brought, and it cost me with the delivery fee and everything. 12 yards was like about right at $300. I want to say it was like $280 or something. It's going to be determined by how far you are from the quarry, how far the truck's got to drive. But dude, with your tractor and it's far cheaper to get a full truckload delivered.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'll probably do this spring, because I want to widen the driveway. Not with blacktop. I'm just going to put like a 2-foot section of gravel on the whole side of the driveway and just compact it down and, do all that. But so yeah, did that today. And we, yesterday, all Christmas is gone at our house. Every bit of it. I took down the lights outside, Christmas trees down, all the decorations are down. You wouldn't even know Christmas was a week ago, but, and that was a pain in the butt because my wife, I love you, dear, if you're listening, she bought a bag, like a body bag to put the Christmas tree in. And we've been keeping the box that it came in and just put it back in there and tape it up or whatever, and then put it in the attic, right? Well, she got this bag and it made sense. It's like, oh, this is a good idea. Well, we've got one of those pull down ladders for the attic. The bag wouldn't fit up there. I tried everything, man. I messed with it for 40 minutes trying to get this stupid bag up in the attic, and the bag eventually ripped. It's like a cheap canvas kind of bag, or like a tarp bag or whatever. And so I said, forget it. And I went and got the box. Luckily, we didn't burn that box yet, and just put the tree back in the box and took it up in the attic. But man, I was sore this morning when we got up for church, and I couldn't figure out why am I so sore? Well, it's because yesterday I spent probably an hour or more loading stuff up into the attic, carrying big totes and stuff above your head. And it's like, whew, I need to get into some shape. But yeah, so it's been a busy weekend. And then tomorrow, we're recording this. It's New Year's Eve. Tomorrow, my father-in-law is coming over. We have a sunroom in the back of the house, really nice addition. And there's a hot tub in there. We don't want the hot tub. It's an old hot tub. It probably needs a lot of work. And so we're going to rip it out tomorrow. And that thing will be out of there by noon. And then my mother-in-law is coming over with New Year's Day dinner. And we're going to have dinner at our place and just hang out. But so yeah, lots going on this weekend, getting stuff done. I like it. It's feels productive. But before we roll into the Bible talk, just want to say, hey, thank you guys for listening. If you want to support the podcast, there's a few ways you can do that. You can do it through Patreon, patreon.com/Faith Talks Wood. All the money that's given to that just goes back to making sure the podcast can stay afloat. And we're not begging. Tom and I don't need the Patreon support, but we want to allow people to be able to bless the podcast if you felt blessed. So there's that way. Give us a 5-star review on Apple. It goes a long way. Let's other people be able to find us, and Apple will promote us and stuff. And then, yeah, pray for us. I mean, we want to stay in God's will as we do this podcast. And what better way to do that than to ask for prayers? So really appreciate everybody that listens, and we look forward to what 2024 has in store. But so I've got the Bible breakdown for today. So was thinking about what to do and where I kind of feel God leading my heart a little bit. And a story from the Old Testament that came to mind was Daniel chapter 3, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And so if you have never read that story, I encourage you to go into scripture and read it. It's a really cool story. But so what had happened is King Nebuchadnezzar, he made a golden statue, and he said he made an edict, and that everybody must worship this golden statue that he made. Well, he got report that there's these Jewish guys who were kind of leaders in the province of Babylon. Well, he got report that there's these 3 guys that weren't bowing down to worship the gold statue that he made. And he got really mad about it and sent after these guys. And we're going to pick up in Daniel chapter 3, verse, we're going to read verse 20 through 30. So let's get to there real quick. All right, Daniel chapter 3, verses 20 through 30. So it says, if I can find it, I was just there. Oh, there it is. So this is King Nebuchadnezzar. He ordered strong soldiers in his army to tie up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the furnace of blazing fire. So those men were tied up while still wearing their cloaks, trousers, turbans, and other clothes, and were thrown into the furnace of blazing fire. But since the king's command was so urgent, the furnace was so extremely hot, the men who escorted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were killed by the leaping flames. But those 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell into the furnace of blazing fire while still securely bound. Then King Nebuchadnezzar was startled and quickly got up. He said to his ministers, "Wasn't there 3 men that we tied up and threw into the fire?" They replied to the king, for sure, O king." He answered, "But I see 4 men untied and walking around in the midst of the fire. No harm has come to them, and they appeared, and the appearance of the 4th is like that of a god." Then Nebuchadnezzar approached the door of the furnace of blazing fire. He called out, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out, come here." Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego emerged from the fire. Once the satraps, prefects, governors, and ministers of the king had gathered around, they saw that those men were physically unharmed by the fire. The hair on their heads was not singed, nor their trousers damaged. Not even the smell of fire was to be on them. Nebuchadnezzar exclaimed, "Praise be to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent forth his angel and has rescued his servants who trusted in him, ignoring the edict of the king and giving up their bodies rather than serve or pay homage to any god other than their God. I hereby decree that any people, nation, or language group that blasphemes the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego will be dismembered and his home reduced to rubble, for there exists no God who can deliver in this way." Then Nebuchadnezzar promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. So here's the thing. so many times in life, we're going to go through stuff, right? We're going to go through fire. We're going to go through trials. And there are those who teach a false gospel, who will say that if you follow God, you will not go through hard times. And that's not true. And here's the reality. As we see in Daniel chapter 3 with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, God doesn't always stop you from the fire, right? He doesn't always save you from the fire. Rather, he saves you in it, right? And so what does that mean? It means, friends, sometimes you're going to go through some hard stuff. Sometimes life seems unfair. Sometimes we don't have answers for what is happening. But the reality is that we serve a God who is going to let us go through certain things to build our character, to build our faith, and for us to be able to exclaim that he is the one who he says he is. And friends, trials are going to happen. And it's important for us to realize in the midst of the trial that sometimes God doesn't save you from it, but he saves you through it. And it's something that I try to remember, when we went through some pretty hard times during my wife's last pregnancy, really was unsure about everything, lots of stuff. And here we are now, a year later, and our baby girl is healthy, and she's 9 months old, and she's the most just lovable character of a little baby. She's amazing. And we were concerned at first, the first 3 months of her life, she did nothing but scream and cry. And so, in those moments, we were desperate. Late nights, lots of tears, lots of crying out to God. And then all of a sudden, at some point, it clicked and she just stopped. And now she's the happiest little baby you've ever seen in your life. And so sometimes, friends, we're going to go through stuff. There's going to be hard times in life. And just know that we shouldn't doubt God in those moments, but we should continually pray to him, ask for his wisdom in those moments, and he will bring us through those moments. It doesn't mean he stops us from those, but he will bring us through those. I mean, read the book of Job and see what the dude went through and see how in the end, everything worked out. He just had to have faith and stay in communication with God and continually trust that God's plan was better than his. And so, that's my call today is that you're going to go through trials. God's not going to save you from them, but he's going to save you through them. And so, Tom, what do you think about that? What do you think about Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and all that?
Man, so the book of Daniel is one of my favorite in the Bibles. There's so many great stories and learning lessons in this book, but I'm going to back up just a couple verses before where you began. You began at 20. I'm going to go back to verse 16. So on verse 16, it says, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied, O Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you. And that is one thing that's very powerful. There are situations that we go through where we don't have to defend our faith to other people. We just have to continue in our faith with God. But then it continues on in 17. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God whom we serve is able to save us. He will rescue us from your power and your majesty. But even if he doesn't, we want to make it clear to you, your majesty, that we will never serve your gods or worship your golden statue. And I think that part's so powerful because here they're saying, hey, we know that God has the ability, he could just pull us right out of the fire. He could take us out of whatever the situation. He could remove the cancer. He could get us out of the financial situation. He could, whatever the case might be that we're going through in life. But I think the powerful part there is where they say, but even if he doesn't. And so are we willing to continue to worship God if the outcome is not what we want? Because you have to remember, and I think it's probably the most challenging thing about being a Christian is we can't see what God can see. We can't see the end. And I'm going to use my stepdad for an example. My stepdad, in his younger years, smoked for like 50 years, and then he quit. And but later in his life, his last few years, he had COPD and was on breathing treatments, had to tote around a oxygen tank everywhere he had to go. And, it was not, he was the guy that liked to go out in the shop and tinker or go be out in the yard cutting the grass or doing stuff. And honestly, like the last couple years of his life for him was not life. And what I mean by that, he didn't get to enjoy doing the things that he really loved because of that oxygen tank. And the further he went along in that, us as his family member, we're praying for healing and praying that he would get to continue his life. But the reality is he was 80 years old and he was paying consequences for stuff he had done younger. And those last few months, he was like, I'm ready to go be with the Lord. He knew where he was going and knew what the outcome was. And so while us as his loved ones were hurting and wanting him to stay here on the same time, there's a party in heaven because he was going there to be with the Lord. So, but I think that part of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego is so powerful because they're saying, look, our God, he could take us out of this fire, but even if he chooses not to, we're still going to worship him. And then when we continue on down, I love the part where where Nebuchadnezzar says, I want you to make the furnace 7 times hotter than we normally make it. So not only did he bring it to the level they normally would do, he made it 7 times hotter. And then what was the result of that? His own guard, they got burned up while Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego didn't even get a burn on them. And so I think that there's a lot of places in the Bible where you can find humor if you look at it. And that's God saying, yep, you thought you were God. I'm going to show you who's God. And my guys aren't going to get touched, but yours are. But then on down in verse 25 is my favorite part. You talked about God, the fourth man. And no matter whether God pulls us out of whatever we're going through in life or whether he allows us to go through it. So there's a verse in the Bible, and I'm drawing a blank at the moment, but it says, just as a parent disciplines a child, God also disciplines us for our own good. So there's some things that we go through in life that are teaching lessons. We don't see it when we're going through it, but God, regardless of what it is or how tough the situation is, like here, he's in the fire with them. So he's, no matter what we're going through, God is with us and going through it with us. All we got to do is call on him. And it's just awesome. But then I think the other part of it's kind of humorous, but then also showing the power of God is in the end. At the beginning, Nebuchadnezzar's telling everybody, you worship my golden statue. But then after it's all done, he's like, oh no, don't worship my statue. You worship their God because he is the Almighty God. So he goes from not a believer and telling people to worship some stupid statue to saying, oh my goodness, these guys, they are worshiping the one true God. And in the end, the irony of the whole entire thing is they went from saying, whether he pulls us out of it or not, we're going to keep our faith. And what was the reward? In the end, they got promoted. Now, I'm not trying to preach a prosperity gospel here and saying you're going to get promoted if you have faith, but I do believe God rewards us in different ways. And in this instance, they got promoted in the thing. So, yeah, man, I love this passage. There's so much in the book of Daniel that we can learn. But, yeah, man, great stuff, brother. Great stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's something that I thought about, and I was actually asked, this is kind of a side note. So our church does a youth basketball league called Upward Basketball. And so Upward is a Christian-based sports league. There's football, flag football kinds of stuff. Our church does basketball. We have a gym and stuff. And so there's like 160 kids that are signed up to do this. And so the way that it works is that during the half times of each game, there's a devotion given. And so I was asked to be one of the guys on rotation to do devotions, and they had an issue a couple of years ago of somebody saying some stuff from that platform that they shouldn't have said in front of kids. And so now they want to know what you're going to talk about. And so I was thinking about it. It just came to me. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to talk basically what we talked about now. I'm probably going to use the Lion's Den because all the kids will be listening and stuff, and they'll be like, it'll be a little more relevant for them, I think. But anyways, but yeah, so it's good stuff, man. I always enjoy breaking down scripture and talking about this stuff. So we talked a little bit before we started recording. One of the things we want to do, so if you listen to last week's episode, we talked about New Year's resolutions. We talked about personal ones for, health and financial goals and business goals and all kinds of stuff. Well, today we're going to hone in a little bit on woodworking, but specific to projects. And so Tom and I are going to talk about what are some projects that we plan on doing in 2024, and kind of go into some detail on, some different things about the projects and bounce some stuff off each other. And kind of looking forward to it because there's some stuff that I'm going to be doing that I've never done before, and get Tom's input, and I'm sure vice versa on that. But Tom, so what big projects do you have in 2024 that you'd like to see yourself complete?
Well, I've kind of got 5 what I would call big projects. And when I say a big project, if I go out to the shop and make a cutting board or a charcuterie board that I can do in no time flat, that I don't have that type of stuff on the list. These are things that are, because you remember, I don't do this for a living full time like you don't. So this is my work schedule dictates how much shop time I get. In the wintertime, I get a little more shop time. In the summertime, man, there's times where I can go a week or two where I'm just working dusk till dawn every day. And then, of course, we have the farm, and it's difficult to find time to get into the shop. So the first project is my daughter's desk. She is, and that is a project that I'm starting on tomorrow. I've actually technically already started some of the building, but really diving full force into it. She goes back to college on the somewhere around 23rd, 24th, something like that. I don't remember the exact date, but in the next 3 weeks, my goal is to get that project totally complete. It's going to incorporate gluing up a top that is not just a plain rectangle. And so it's going to, I'm doing more of a built-in type desk. And so the end is going to curve into the corner, and not super complicated, but I've never done it before. So that will be a little bit new experience. Of course, her keyboard being built in it. I bought some hinges from Rockler that I've never used before, and I don't really know how to describe them, but I'm going to have to kind of take my router and, for lack of better words, I'm going to say dado, but that wouldn't be the right word. I'm going to recess them into the desk, then into the part that's going to flip up so that way they're hidden. And I have never done that before, never used them. That part's going to be a little tricky. The rest of it, the storage and all that, are, I say simple. I mean, it's still time consuming, but I've done that type work before. But that is the first major project. And by the looks of my work schedule right now, and typically January is not very busy for me for installs, I should have plenty of shop time in the next few weeks. I know I have a couple buses and things to do, but it's not like in the summertime where I might work 60 hours in the week. So I should have plenty of time to get that. But that's my first project. What's your first project you're doing?
Yeah, so that sounds pretty cool. What kind of wood are you going to use for the desk?
So the base is going to be built out of poplar because my daughter. Did you see that that dog kennel cover desk?
Yeah,
table.
The white and the stain.
Yeah. So my daughter loves that kind of modern farmhouse style look, and so she wants the base painted white and the top. She wanted it stained, but so I'm going to do the base all out of poplar, paint it white, and then I'm going to do a walnut top. And so it'll have that nice contrast, give her the look. And so, yeah, I think it'll be pretty. I know you're not a fan of staining or painting, but my daughter likes it.
The painting I'm not too much against. I've done several projects like that. It's just, painting poplar's fine. It's the staining. Like, I can't stand to stain a nice hardwood, right? So it's like white oak or hickory or something nice, man, can't stain that. But yeah, I mean, I have actually the shoe bench in our entryway is a painted base with a cherry top, and our island that I built at our old house was a painted bottom with a white oak top. So yeah, I mean, I'm not against that. But yeah, so first big project, I talked about it. I talked about the hall a month or two ago. So my wife does stained glass art, and she scored through somebody that I work with a lifetime, I would say lifetime supply, but thousands of dollars worth of stained glass. And so our sunroom has crates upon crates upon crates of pieces of stained glass, and she needs a place to put it, a nice place that aren't in milk crates. And so first project is going to be building some sort of storage. She's got some Pinterest ideas. It's really simple. It's just going to be made out of plywood, and it's going to have just like compartments that you can slot glass into and be able to organize it and, kind of get it up off the floor and have a dedicated place for it. So going to be doing that. The silver lining is probably going to build it out of plywood. Now, my wife saw one on Pinterest that was, those metal shop cabinets, shop shelves. That's like heavy duty metal, and then it's got the wire mesh shelves that sit on top that holds like 4,000 pounds. She sent me one that was built out of one of those. So they took one of those and then they boxed in units into each of the shelves. And so she sent me that too. I'm not sure what we're going to do yet. I got to nail that down. Thought about building it just all out of plywood and then making like a nice face frame for it or something just to spice it up a little bit, make it a little bit nicer. But the silver lining kind of cool part of that is we created a slush fund. Any of the money that she's made from selling stained glass stuff is in an account, and we don't touch it. And so she told me, she's like, use the money from there to buy your, whatever you need to make it. So it's kind of nice, is like it not coming out of our pocketbook in a sense. And so, and plywood's expensive. And so I'm going to build out a nice plywood. I'm not going to build out no junky stuff. And so, or at least like nice sanded ply or something. I'm not going to build out a like construction ply. So yeah, that's the plan on the first one. I'm not sure. I don't have, okay. I have a dado stack. I don't have the dado stack cartridge for my SawStop. So, the SawStop has the cartridges that that the blade will go into. And so mine just has a regular one. And then I'd have to, it's like $110 or $20 to buy a dado stack cartridge. That's a wider one. And my thought is, how about I just turn the brake off, because you can bypass that safety feature. And if I'm just cutting dados, I'm not worried as much about, if I'm cutting 1/2 inch deep, dados, I'm not worried much about the safety stuff. It's not coming through. And so I may still throw my dado stack on there and just turn the safety mechanism off and route out. Cause I'd like to make it so that any of the shelves are in dados, just to give it more support, because that glass is really heavy. And so I don't want it just, glue and, nail, like 18 gauge brad or something. So yeah, that's going to be my first project. Kind of looking forward to it. Something different. Once we get that hot tub torn out, that'll give me some extra room in that space to kind of configure and how we're going to do it and how we're going to build it. And so, yeah, looking forward to that. What other projects do you have on your list?
Yeah, before we jump into my next project, so on that, you've got a large router, correct? Don't you have like a?
I got a big plunge, like a 3-horse.
So do your dados with it. You don't have to waste your money, and because you also have a track saw, right? So I'm not sure which brand router
It's the router. What brand is that? It's just I don't even know.
Yeah. Regardless, you can take your track, and before I had my Festool, I would do this. I just take a board, and you could clamp it. You mark where your dados are going to be, each side of it, and clamp that board. Use it as a straight edge. And even if you were, say, because the one tough thing about a dado stack or a router is that 3/4 inch plywood is never 3/4 inch, so it's always nominal. But you can take a straight edge and like a 1/2 inch bit, and you route one line straight across, and then you adjust that so that way you then make a second pass, and you'll come the opposite direction, one on each side, and you'll end up with a perfect dado. And then it'll be a lot cheaper than buying a dado stack and going through all that headache.
Oh, I have a dado stack already.
Oh, I didn't know you had that. Okay.
Yeah, I have a dado stack. I just don't have the cartridge that the SawStop. So if a SawStop goes off, it shoots a blade into an aluminum cartridge.
Gotcha.
And so there's a normal cartridge and there's a dado stack cartridge.
Gotcha.
I don't have the dado stack cartridge. They're like $100-something. So my thought was just put a dado stack in and then just turn the safety feature off, just in case it were to go off for whatever reason. So yeah, I have the dado stack, and I have no problem setting it up and running plywood through it. That way, because I have all the shims, I can make that dado stack perfect, on first go.
Yeah, I misunderstood. I thought I heard you say that you were going to buy a dado stack. So
no, I have a dado stack. Yeah. Yep.
Well, then you got two options there. Then, well, the second project that is in, the Grinch that stole my Christmas, Jet. I was really waiting to finish all my cabinet doors for all my cabinets. I still got to finish my kitchen cabinets, and I really wanted that just for fine tuning in, because when you do glue ups with rails and stiles, sometimes you'll be just a smidgen off, and I can fix it with a hand sander, but I really wanted to be able to run all of them through the drum sander, but I canceled that order because they told me it was going to be into April before it shipped. And I was like, I'm going to be done with my cabinets by then. And so, but that is the second big project on mine. It's not anything new for me. I built cabinets before. It's a lot of doors and drawer facings. And so, the one challenge for me, is in the wintertime is that, I can't open up the doors and spray because of temperature. And so that is the only challenge for me. And so I've been kind of contemplating how I'm going to build me kind of a temporary spray booth. And, but the other negative, I've already sprayed all the cabinets with lacquer, so I got to keep the same finish, and lacquer stinks to high heaven. And so that is the one negative of doing it this time of year. And that's one reason this year I'm going to kind of test out that conversion varnish stuff. And because of the smell of lacquer, I love lacquer because it's fast and it's a nice hard finish. I'm good at spraying it, but it sucks in the wintertime. I'm not going to lie. It's not a good thing because, so I'm hoping maybe we, and it's not like it's 12 degrees here all the time. I mean, so hoping we have, one of those little spring winter day weeks where I can, so I'm going to get them all built, get everything ready. And then, hopefully maybe get lucky and I have one of those days where I can spray them all, open up the doors, get the place aired out. But yeah, that is my second big project. And, I am on a mission. I need to have that done by April when irrigation comes back on. So our irrigation for the farm comes off the Colorado River. And of course they shut that out, drain the system and all. But once that comes in, it'll be farm time. So I want to have the kitchen, all the cabinets all complete before then. So, yep. So what else you got on the docket?
That's pretty cool. I actually just thought of one from you saying that. I've got a couple of projects that, there's no necessary, like none of my projects aside from my wife's glass storage thing is pertinent at all. It's all just stuff that kind of want to make for the house or whatnot. One of the things is this year we're going to be remodeling our bathroom. And so I'm going to gut the whole bathroom and we're going to redo it. And the last house we did the same thing on, and I just bought a vanity, just, off the shelf at Lowe's, and it was fine. I had no problems with it at all. I mean, it was a little chintzy, just the drawers and stuff like that. I've never built cabinets or anything like that. And so I think I'm going to challenge myself to build a bathroom vanity for our bathroom. That way I can build it the exact size we want. I want to do a double sink, and I can just buy the sink and put it in and then build my own vanity. And actually call me crazy, but I kind of want to do a wood top. Just something I think it'd be cool. I know it's bad. Wood in the bathroom gets steamy, gets hot. But I don't know. I might do that. So we'll see. But I won't glue it down. So if anything ever happens, I could just go get me a laminate top or something if it gets messed up too bad. But I'm pretty confident in it. So that's one of the things that I want to do. So I will be leaning heavy on you when I go to build that, just because I've never built a cabinet. The biggest thing with a cabinet that intimidates me is drawer building. Not building the box. I can build a drawer box in 10 minutes, right? Like, it's the sizing, making sure that I get the sizing and all that stuff right, because I don't know, it's just one of those weird things. And I'd like to, not cheap out and use some nice like undermount soft close, hinges and stuff like that. And so that kind of stuff is like, yeah, I did see one video on YouTube where I think it was Bourbon Moth, and he's just, you put your slides in, you install your slides, and then you measure your boxes by the slide if they're undermounts for the undermount slides. Yep. And so, But yeah, so that's a project on the horizon that I'll be want, and that's one of those things like, say we're gonna redo the kitchen in June. Well, I'm gonna want that vanity built and finished before I even start on or not the kitchen, the bathroom, before I even start on the bathroom, because I want to be able to, when I'm ready, take it right in. I don't want to have to be waiting on myself to finish, so it's going to be done and sitting in my shop waiting for it to be installed. So that way I'm not rushing and I can take my time on it and have it ready to go before, we go into remodeling the bathroom. So, but yeah, so that's one of the things. Looking forward to that. Again, I'm not necessarily afraid of it. It's just something I've never done. I want to put some drawers in it on either side for my wife and I, and then, underneath have some nice cabinet space down below and stuff too. So, but yeah, so that's one of them. Anything? What else you got on your?
Yeah, you won't have any problem with cabinets. I've built quite a few cabinets now, and quite honestly, they're not hard. I think the first one I built, I was more nervous because I'd never done it before. Then once you do it, you're like, oh man, that is too easy. It's it honestly, it's about planning and and to make it come out the way you want it. The nice thing I like about building a cabinet versus buying a store box one is you can make it however you want and add extra storage and everything in it. And I'll give you an example. So the bathroom that we had at my house, the little rental house that we lived in for a few years back in North Carolina, you're talking about a small bathroom. Like, it was teeny tiny. The vanity that I built in that bathroom was only 24 inches wide, I believe. It was very small. And so we needed every ounce of storage that we could get. So rather than having a toe kick, I built a drawer down there that popped out. You can't get that with a store-bought cabinet. So, I mean, it's nothing technical to do that, but when you're doing something custom, you can get creative and do that. And that little drawer down there, my wife loved. Because we needed every ounce of storage we could get. But yeah, you'll be fine, man. I'll see
when you built that, do you build your toe kick and place it and shim it out and then just build your box on top, or do you integrate the toe kick into the box?
Well, you could do it either way, but I built mine into the box. And so, so that down there at the bottom, and I just had, it's basically a drawer. Essentially, It's all it is. It's down there in that space. And, rather than it just being, because typically you're going to, like most toe kicks, about 3.5 inches high, 3.5, depending upon the person making them. And then kind of the same depth. And then that you have your bottom shelf in your cabinet. Well, that everything below that is just a 3-inch gap that's, sitting on this wasted space, really. That's what it is. And I've seen people that will take, like in a kid's bathroom, and make that where it comes out and it's a step that they can.
I was just about to say that.
Yep. And so that is the fun thing to me about making something custom, is because obviously a 60-year-old couple has different needs than a 30-year-old couple that has a 4-year-old, and so you can really personalize it to your space. But the one thing I will say, though, do not build a kid height vanity. That go ahead and build it at normal, like kitchen counter height.
Ours now is really low and I hate it.
It's miserable, but go ahead and build it and then make them a stool to step up on, so that way when they grow older, they're not bending over with their backs hurting to brush their teeth.
Well, yeah. Try being almost 6'3". I hate it, man.
I'm 5'6", 5'7". I don't like the low counters. I know you tall people don't.
Actually, funny thing about that, before we move on, my father-in-law, they built an addition on their house, custom kitchen and dining room. It's gorgeous. He built an island in the middle, and it's got a bar around the top of it. My mother-in-law is like 5'3", And so he built the inside of the island. It's like a corner island. The inside counter is at her height for when she's rolling dough and making stuff. So it sits a lot lower than what a normal counter does. And it's a lot easier for her. So she does all of her dinner prep and stuff on that. And it's a big space, but it's just kind of a cool little thing that he did. And he integrated, like, he's got drawers that come out that have the garbage cans in them, you know, stuff like that. It's just really kind of neat. Yeah. But yeah. So yeah, what else you got on your docket?
So then after my next project will be building a bed for our bedroom. So right now we have a mattress in our master bedroom just sitting on one of those metal frames that, you get. And so because the bed I built for us in North Carolina is now in our guest room, and my wife wants a king size bed. So right now, anybody who comes and stays at our house sleeps on the nicest bed in the house. And so that is it. And, our house is not big. And so I'm going to be doing the same thing, building it with storage up underneath. And the only thing I'm going to do different is, and I've not come up with a total design yet, but I want to make the headboard kind of flow up the wall and be a nice piece of art. So I don't know exactly how I've not even started designing anything for that, but that will be the third project. And the sooner I get that done, the happier my wife will be. So we had a king size bed for 17, 18 years of our marriage, the first 17, 18. And then when we downsized, we went down to a queen. A queen size bed is plenty enough for two people, unless you get used to a king size bed. And it's, it's so funny how we get accustomed to things. And so my wife's like, I want to go back to a king size bed. And so that will happen this year for sure.
Yeah. So funny enough, my wife and I first got married. We had a queen bed and it was fine. And the cat, even before we got married, because I lived in the house before we got married, the cat slept with me. And then that didn't change when we got married. The cat slept with us in the bed. And then we got a dog and she started sleeping on the foot of the bed. And then when we moved to Tennessee, we got another dog and she started sleeping on the bed. Now the animals aren't in the house. There's the whole thing behind that, but animals are now we got a nice laundry room, mud room, garage. They're out there. But anyways, and so we decided to get a king size bed. And I tell you what, I'll never go back. We don't have anybody sleep in our bed. Kids are not allowed to sleep in our bed, aside from like if they take a nap during the day, but like at night they do not. And that's something that we started before we even had kids. We made that rule. But even just my wife and I, just gives us both enough space, and it's just nice, man. So the only thing I regret is the bed itself, the mattress that we bought. It's nice. I mean, when we bought it, it was like a $3,000 mattress. Well, we didn't pay that much for it. We ended up getting it for like $1,100 or something. But I feel like it's worn. I mean, its mattress is like 6 years old and it's already just feels like it's worn down. I'm like kind of ticked about that. And so I really want a purple. I don't know if you've seen purple, but that's on my list. If we ever replace this mattress, it's going to be with a purple.
Yeah, those things are nice.
But
so what's the next project on your list?
Yeah, again, not in any order specifically. One of the things I really want to do, and I want to do it this year, and so I have two kids. I have a boy and a girl, and I want to build them each custom hope chests. And so they're going to be basically identical, just maybe out of different species of wood. I don't know. We'll see. They may be out of the same. Depends on what I can get my hands on from the farm. But yeah, I want to build a hope chest for both of them. A nice one, an heirloom, something that, I take my time on, that's all hand cut joinery. That's something that they can, pass down to their kids and their grandkids someday. And so, yeah, that's on the list. I don't really have a specific way I want to do it. I know John built, not is it John, not Johnny Builds. One of those YouTube guys made a hope chest, and he has plans for it. And so I thought about looking at those and seeing kind of how he did it. I've got an idea for how I'd want to do it, but yeah. So I want to build a hope chest for the kids, for each of them, and something nice. And I'll probably make the bottoms out of cedar, just for that moth repellent kind of thing, and just because it's kind of cool. But yeah, so that is a goal I'd like to do. And I'm going to challenge myself on it to do something that I've never done, and I've never built a hope chest, but also do some joinery and some different things I've never done. So yeah, that's on the list again. Not sure when. Maybe I'll make that a goal to give that to them as gifts for Christmas next year or this year. So we'll see. But yeah.
Yeah, for me, the next one, so we still don't have a door going to our laundry room. And the reason being is when I designed this house, I deliberately wanted to put a barn door on there, and I haven't built it yet. I built 2 barn doors back in North Carolina, and my wife and daughter loved them. But this one, I'm going to do different in the fact that I want to put a piece of art, and not sure if you're kind of following any of the wood artists or that type stuff, but I want to incorporate in the door some wood art. And so that'll be something I've never done before. I can easily build the barn door. That's a piece of cake. But yeah, I've just been wanting to try and make like a wooden mountain scene built into the door. So, but yeah, that'll be hopefully get that on there. It's not the end of the world. It's not a big deal for people to walk by down the hallway and see our washer and dryer, but I do want to get that done this year. So, yep. Anything else for you?
I've got 2. I'll just kind of quickly go through them. I want to build another end table for the living room. And kind of funny, and I asked my wife permission to do this. I'm going to build it out of a different wood than the other end table and a different style. So it's not going to match at all, but I want our house to eventually reflect all different kinds of woodworking styles. And I'm not a guy, I don't care if it matches or not. It's just, and my wife really doesn't. We're not very picky on that kind of stuff. So I'm going to build, I don't know what I'm going to build, maybe out of cherry. The other one I built out of ash, and I'm going to do something different and make it different. And so that's on the list. And then the other thing, I've talked about it before, is building a new top for our dining room table. We like the dining room table, the chairs. The top on the table though is garbage. It's like a veneered cheap, I don't know, bought off of Facebook, and it was like brand new when we bought it. And it looks like that table's 20 years old now, the top. It's just because it's cheap. And I've got 2 young kids that are pretty hard on stuff. But nonetheless, those are my other 2 kind of projects for the year that I'd like to see done. Other than that, just your typical, build what comes, and, if I get commissions or anything like that. So yeah. Anything else on your list?
Only one thing, and this for me, and it's one of those things that if I get time, and I'm hoping kind of work on it a little here and there, but right now I have these 2 roll-in tool chests from Sam's, just your typical little metal. And then I've got all my like Festool tools and Bosch tools in their cases and all. And I have a section in my shop where I want to build a cabinet with pull-out drawers, have all that in it, and then above it make a really nice tool wall with my logo in it, basically as a backdrop. So I'm going to be putting out my first YouTube video this week and starting that channel. And my goal is to make 1 video a week all year long. So we will see how that goes. But we're not talking about 30-minute Keith Johnson build videos every week, but kind of simple. Most of my videos this year will be either small builds or reviews of the tools that I have, that I enjoy that type stuff. But I do want to make a spot that inspires me to be creative, that when I walk in, I want to get my shop to where when I walk out there, I just really love being there because of the atmosphere of it. You know how sometimes you see people's shops and you're just like, that looks like a wood haven. Like I could just hang out and enjoy spending time there. It's not that I don't enjoy spending time in my shop, but I feel like it's more, I don't know, cold. Does that make sense? I want more wood. So I want to create something, because that's one thing I love about wood. It just adds warmth to a space, if that makes any sense. Right now I just have all painted sheetrock and concrete floors, and it's great space to work, not complaining about it. But from an artistic ability, there's nothing in my shop that goes, man, this guy's creative. Look at this space where he has to create. And that's what I kind of want to create out there, a place that when you walk in it, it just inspires you to get to work and make something cool. So, yep. But that'll be for me. So that means it takes last priority. How about you? Anything else?
That sounds pretty cool. No, nothing really. Well, let's go ahead and roll into shop talk, because I've got a couple things to talk about for shop talk. So this Christmas season, I helped my wife do a lot of stuff, and I made a lot of different things. And I have a 4 foot, a little over 4 foot by a little over 6 foot outfeed assembly table, on the end of my table saw. And I find it hard to be creative, as you were kind of talking about, when that thing's cluttered. And so, like, when that thing is cluttered, that's the central point in my shop. That's kind of where everything happens. And when there's no space and it's just full of stuff, I just can't get motivated to make anything else. And so yesterday, I cleaned it off. I cleaned everything, put everything where it goes, I still have lots of organizing to do in the shop, but I got my main work area cleaned off, and it felt really good, and it inspired me. And so I did something last night that I'd never done. I have to finish them, but I made hand cut dovetails. And so I saw my dovetail saw hanging there on the wall, and you had talked about you ordered some stuff, some dovetail saw and stuff like that. And I have a whole bunch of scraps, and I got this really nice walnut scraps. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to hand cut dovetails. And so, what's funny is I'm one of those guys that I watch a lot of YouTube and a lot of really, really good woodworkers and a lot of hand tool woodworkers and stuff. And I know how to cut a dovetail. I've watched 100 videos on it, and I know how to do it right. And I've seen how to do it right. And so I decided to sit down at my hand tool woodworking bench I have, and by golly, I hand cut dovetails. Now, I cheated a little bit. I've got the Katz Moses dovetail jig, which is fantastic, because here's what it does. They're still hand cut. It just has magnets in it and keeps you aligned. Because that's the thing, like the guys that are hand cutting dovetails freehand, that's a whole nother level of something that, right? I'm not there yet. But with the jig, it made it somewhat easy. But I did all my layout lines. And so the way that I did the dovetail, a little bit of insight to my mind, I'm not a measurement guy. I'm a proportion guy. I'm a relative measurement guy. And so I'm not one that's going to, like, if I build a coffee table, I will build the top first, and then I'll build the base from the top. Yeah.
Wow. See,
yeah,
I'm, I'm the exact opposite. I build the base and then decide what I want my overhang to be, and which I pre-plan it all out. So it's, honestly, it doesn't matter which way you go, because Yeah.
And so I'll build the top, and then I'll figure out, cut my pieces for my legs and my sides and my aprons and all that stuff. And then I'll put the top upside down, and I'll lay everything out upside down. And then that's how I get my, again, it's not, I don't measure. I get everything. Now I do, like, I'll put setup blocks and get everything even. And then whatever that measurement is in between is what my apron is. Right.
Yeah.
I don't shoot. It's just, anyways. And so when I do my dovetails, what I did is you set up, your basic is you set up your layout lines on how thick the material is for the pin. Right. And so say 3/4 inch. And so I have a marking gauge that scribes the line all the way around the board. And then on the top, I wanted to do 2 dovetails. And so the way that I did it is I found my center of my board, scribed a line, and then from the center, I went 1/4 or 1/8 of an inch out from that line on either side, scribed lines, and then 1/8 of an inch out from the ends on either side. And those lines were my dovetail lines. Easy. So I cut my angles and did the whole thing there. And then the way that I'll do the pins, I've got a scribe pen. I need to get myself a layout or like a marking knife with like a sharp point. I don't have one of those. So that's definitely on the list of something to get. But I'm thinking about doing the blue tape trick, to where you basically put a piece of blue tape down on your pin board. You put your dovetail on top of it and you mark out on the blue tape with a knife, and then you peel back those markings and then you cut along the tape line. And so that's basically the way that I'm going to do it. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm excited. I probably won't get back out there tonight. I've got to do my Bible reading yet and stuff tonight. So that's going to take priority over shop time. But yeah, so that's been my shop time. Got the shop cleaned up, and made the tails of just a practice dovetail. I just want to practice and, do that hand cut dovetail. And what's funny about it is it's always really intimidating because I've never done it before, but man, was it fun. And when you take your time, this goes with anything, right? When you take your time, you slow down, you methodically plan out how you're going to do it. Man, it was nothing. Like it wasn't, I didn't find it to be hard. I just took my time. And the one thing, there are some people that, how about this? There are instances where the tools you have don't matter, right? That you could build a lot with a contractor table saw. But I tell you what, my saw stop makes it a lot nicer to do stuff. If you don't have a nice dovetail saw, I could see it being a lot harder. I've got a nice Cezanne, whatever that Japanese pull saw. And man, it cut through that walnut like butter, super sharp, crisp lines, really thin curve. I mean, it was just perfect. And I could see how if you had a cheap like Harbor Freight saw, that it would just be a royal pain to do that. But nonetheless, made some dovetails. Really happy about it. Excited, to just continue to try it, because I'd like to, when I build the end table, I'm going to put a drawer in it. I'm going to build the whole drawer box out of dovetail, do dovetail joinery for it just because. So, but yeah, that's been my shop the last while. How about you? We talked about it a little bit earlier, but aside from dust collection, anything else going on?
Yeah, I made a mess of the shop doing the dust collection and hadn't had a chance to clean up because my mom's here and I've been spending time with family and all. But the first thing is get my shop cleaned back up, and then first priority is get my daughter's desk built. So, but yep, that'll be what I'll be doing this week. As of the moment, I have no installations on the books this week. I have 2 tentative ones, but I don't know if that'll work out this week or next week. But yeah, so hopefully I'll get a lot of shop time. But I have a mess out there to clean up right now, so I'm gonna get that done tomorrow for sure, and then get started on her desk. So, Well, man,
Awesome, man.
we're running pretty long here, and it's New Year's Eve, but we're gonna stay up and we like to play this game called Phase 10. I don't know if
Oh yeah.
So
we played it Christmas Day.
yeah,
It went for over 3 hours.
yep, it lasts a while. So my wife, daughter, and mom are in there waiting for me to come play Phase 10. So
All right. Well, one thing I'm gonna tell you: be ruthless, man. Use those skips.
me and my daughter are the most two competitive people, and like my wife is the least competitive person on the planet, and me and my daughter will be skipping each other at everything, but we have a good time.
My mother-in-law is a card shark. Whatever reason, she's so good at like 500 and Phase 10 and stuff like that. But if you want a really fun game to play that's like that with your family, Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza.
Never heard of it.
It's a card game. That's what it's called.
All right, I'll look it up.
Yeah, dude, it's so much fun. It's like a card game where it goes around and everybody puts a card down really fast, and you wait for a specific kind of card and stuff, and you slap the thing, and it's really fun. It's well worth it. So,
Right.
Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza. If you don't get it, then when we come out and visit you guys in May, we'll bring it with us and we can all play. But
Sounds good.
but yeah, it's getting late, man. Go play some Phase 10, and I'm gonna go see what my wife's doing and do some Bible study, and then head to bed. Got a long day tomorrow. So until next week, I'm Will from Fly Woodworks.
And I'm Tom from Mountain Valley Maker.
Have a blessed rest of your day.